Before we begin, take a deep breath. Imagine the darkness behind your closed eyes is not empty space, but a vast, silent ocean. In this ocean, there are billions of tiny lights flickering like distant stars. These are not stars, they are your memories. Tonight, we will slow down time to catch a single spark. We will journey through the history of the human mind to answer the oldest question of our existence. How does a moment become a memory? Let us drift into the architecture of the past.
Close your eyes now and let the heavy curtains of the outside world fall shut. Allow your body to sink into the mattress as if gravity has become a gentle hand pressing you down into a place of absolute safety and stillness. Take a deep breath and let it go, releasing the tension from your jaw and your shoulders. For tonight, we are not traveling to a distant land across the ocean, but rather we are turning our gaze inward, journeying into the most complex object in the known universe, which resides right now behind your closed eyelids. We are entering the architecture of the silent library known as the human brain, specifically the cerebral cortex, the outer layer of the brain that makes you who you are. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the entrance of a colossal hall, a structure so vast that the ceiling disappears into a mist of silver and gray. This is the physical manifestation of your mind, the seat of human consciousness. And as you step inside, you realize that the walls are not made of stone or wood, but of organic matter, sculpted by millions of years of evolution. This is the library of your life, a place of infinite quiet, where the air is cool and still, smelling faintly of old parchment and electricity. The science of this place is staggering to behold, for the tissue that surrounds you is folded and tucked into ridges and valleys known as gyri and sulci, a clever biological trick to fit an immense surface area into the small, safe harbor of your skull. If you were to unfold this library, it would cover a table, yet here it is compacted, efficient, and waiting. As you walk down the center of this great hall, you look to the left and to the right, and you see the shelves rising up like skyscrapers. These are not shelves of wood holding paper books, but rather they are dense forests of neurons, the specialized cells that hold the code of your existence. Scientists tell us that in this cortex alone, there are billions of these cells, and the connections between them, the synapses, number in the trillions. It is a number so large that it rivals the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and yet it all fits within you, silent and dark, waiting for the spark of retrieval. Imagine walking deeper into this library, your footsteps making no sound on the floor of the mind. You run your hand along the shelves, and you can feel the hum of potential energy. This is the feeling of the resting potential of a neuron, a tiny voltage waiting to be discharged, a loaded spring of memory ready to be released. It is a miracle of biology that matter can hold a moment, that a collection of proteins and fats and water can trap the image of a sunset from 10 years ago or the sound of your mother's voice. This is the science feel of our journey, the realization that memory is not magic, but a physical reality, a tangible architecture built by the body to defy the passage of time. As you continue to walk, you notice the lighting in this library is dim, a soft bioluminescent glow that pulses rhythmically like a slow heartbeat. This is the rhythm of your brain waves, perhaps the slow rolling waves of delta sleep beginning to wash over the cortex, cleaning the corridors, sweeping away the dust of the day. In the history of science, men have tried to map this place for centuries.
The ancient Egyptians discarded the brain, thinking it useless. The Greeks thought it cooled the blood. But now we know that this cortex is the grand archive of everything you have ever known. Think of the sheer weight of information stored here. Every face you have ever seen, every song you have ever heard, every texture you have ever touched. It is all here, etched into the microscopic structure of the tissue, stored in the changing strength of the connections between these silent sentinels, the neurons. It is a comforting thought to know that nothing is truly lost, that even the memories you cannot reach right now are safe, tucked away in a high corner of this infinite library, waiting for the right cue to bring them down. The architecture here is remarkably orderly, organized into columns of activity, 6 distinct layers of cells that process information from the simple to the complex, from the raw sensation of light hitting your retina to the abstract concept of beauty. And as you drift deeper into the hall, you feel a sense of reverence for this biological machine. It works without you asking it to. It maintains the library while you sleep, consolidating and organizing, moving books from the temporary desk of the hippocampus to these permanent shelves of the cortex. A nightly ritual of preservation that has happened every night of your life. The silence here is profound. It is not an empty silence, but a heavy, pregnant silence. The silence of a cathedral or a deep forest. A silence that wraps around you like a warm blanket, protecting you from the noise of the waking world. You are safe here in the center of your own being, surrounded by the physical evidence of your life. The structure of the cortex is a testament to survival. Nature has built this library to be robust, to withstand the years, and tonight it is in maintenance mode. The lights are dimming even further as the brain shifts its energy from the external world to the internal world. The vast networks of the default mode network are quieting down. The executive centers that worry and plan are hanging up their coats and turning off the lights, leaving you to wander freely in the hall of memories. Notice how the air here feels thick and comforting, like the air in a room that has been closed for a long time, preserving everything inside perfectly. You are walking past the section of early childhood where the shelves are lower and the memories are painted in primary colors, broad strokes of emotion and sensation, the smell of rain on hot asphalt, the taste of cold milk, the feeling of grass on bare feet. These memories are burned deep into the architecture, structural pillars that hold up the rest of the library. And as you walk, you realize that you are not just an observer in this library, but you are the library itself. You are the architect and the librarian and the visitor all at once. This is the paradox of the brain. The thing that studies is the thing being studied. And this loop of understanding creates a peaceful dizziness, a gentle swirling sensation that pulls you down toward sleep. The science of memory tells us that recalling a memory is an act of creation, that every time you take a book off the shelf, you are dusting it off and rewriting a few lines before putting it back. So tonight, we are not disturbing the books, we are simply acknowledging their presence. We are marveling at the sheer scale of the storage.
The trillions of synapses that link one thought to another in a web of complexity that no supercomputer can match. Imagine the physical reality of these connections. Tiny gaps called synaptic clefts, where chemical messengers drift across like boats crossing a narrow river, carrying cargo of information from one shore to the other. This process is happening millions of times a second, even now as you rest. A silent chemical symphony that plays the song of your life. But now the music is slowing down. The tempo is dropping to a slow adagio. The river of chemicals is calming to a glassy stillness. The library is preparing for the night shift, where the only task is rest and repair. You find a comfortable chair in the center of this great hall, a chair made of soft velvet, and you sit down, looking up at the vaulted ceiling of the mind.
watching the faint electrical sparks drift like fireflies in the rafters. These are the remnants of the day's thoughts fading away. One by one, they flicker and go out, leaving only the peaceful dark. The structural integrity of this place is absolute. It has held you together through every storm and every joy, and it will hold you through the night. The cortex is a resilient masterpiece of biology, a thick blanket of gray matter that covers the white matter beneath, the white matter acting like the cables and wiring that connect the distant parts of the library together, allowing the front of the hall to speak to the back. But tonight, the lines are quiet. The phone is off the hook. The messages have ceased. There is only the gentle hum of existence, the rhythmic thrum of the blood pumping through the delicate vessels that feed this massive structure, bringing oxygen and nutrients to every cell, a river of life that flows silently and ceaselessly, supporting the architecture of memory. Feel yourself becoming heavy in the chair, your eyes tracing the lines of the columns that stretch upward, marveling at the design, how nature has crafted such a perfect vessel for consciousness. There is no need to organize anything tonight, no need to sort the books or sweep the floors. The biological processes of sleep will take care of everything. Your only job is to witness the stillness, to respect the quiet, to allow the vastness of the library to make you feel small and safe, like a child hiding in a corner of a great bookstore, surrounded by stories but obliged to read none of them, simply enjoying the presence of the words, the potential of the ideas, without the burden of understanding them. The science of the brain is a science of peace, for at its core the brain seeks homeostasis. It seeks balance and rest, and by entering this visualization, you are aligning yourself with the biological imperative of your own body. You are working with your physiology, not against it, allowing the natural sedatives of the brain to flood the system, weighing down your limbs, slowing your breathing, softening your focus, until the library itself begins to blur at the edges, the sharp lines of the shelves becoming soft and fuzzy, the vast ceiling lowering down to wrap you in a cocoon of safety, the trillions of connections resting, the electrical storms quieting into a soft static hum, the architecture of the silent library standing strong and eternal in the landscape of your mind, a fortress of solitude where you can retreat whenever the world becomes too loud, remembering always that this place is yours, that it is built of your own substance, that it is the physical proof of your journey through time. And as the final lights of the library dim, leaving only a single candle burning on the desk of your consciousness, you feel a profound gratitude for this complex, beautiful, silent machine that grants you the gift of memory and the greater gift of forgetting, the gift of sleep, and the gift of drifting away into the velvet darkness of the night. Now let the currents of time begin to flow backward, reversing the clock, unspooling the centuries, leaving the modern sterile rooms of hospitals and laboratories behind, and drifting slowly, gently, into the golden haze of antiquity. We find ourselves descending into the warm, sun-drenched landscape of ancient Greece, specifically to the city of Athens, where the air smells of dust and olive trees and the salt of the Aegean Sea. Here, long before the invention of the microscope or the discovery of the neuron, the greatest minds of the human race sat in the shade of marble colonnades and asked the very same question we ask tonight. What is a memory? How can a moment that is gone forever still exist inside of us? Allow yourself to visualize the scene. It is a quiet afternoon in the academy. The noise of the city market is a distant murmur, and a philosopher sits with a wooden frame in his hands. Inside the frame is a layer of beeswax, smooth and dark and fragrant. This is the technology of the time, the wax tablet, used for writing down accounts and laws and poetry. But tonight, it is used as a metaphor, a scientific model for the soul. Plato, the great teacher, looks at the wax and he sees the mind. He tells us to imagine that our souls contain a block of this wax. For some people, the wax is hard and brittle, difficult to scratch, but once written upon, it holds the mark forever. For others, the wax is fluid and soft, easy to mark, but the impressions melt away quickly, leaving no trace. This is the ancient science feel of the ancient world, a physical explanation for the mysteries of learning and forgetting. And as you listen to this, you can imagine holding that block of wax in your own hands. Feel the weight of the wood. Feel the texture of the wax. It is cool to the touch, but it warms up under the heat of your fingertips, becoming pliable, becoming ready to receive the world. This is the theory of the typos, the impression. Just as a signet ring made of bronze or gold is pressed into the sealing wax of a letter to leave a signature, so too does every experience you have press itself into the substance of your mind. Imagine the sensation of a stylus, a sharp instrument made of bone or metal, carving a line into the smooth surface. This is what happens when you see a face you love or hear a melody that brings you to tears. The sensory input travels into you and presses down, displacing the wax, leaving a groove, a valley in the landscape of the soul. The ancients believed that memory was not a chemical state, but a physical shape, a geometry of the spirit. And there is something deeply soothing about this idea, that your memories are not fleeting sparks, but tangible engravings, carved with care into the substance of who you are. Aristotle, the student of Plato, took this idea further. He sat by the sea and wondered about the passage of time. He realized that a memory is like a painting, a representation of the thing, but not the thing itself. And he wondered why some marks fade while others remain sharp. Imagine him smoothing the wax with the flat end of the stylus, erasing a mistake, watching the groove disappear as the wax is pushed back into place, returning to a state of flatness. This is the ancient view of forgetting. It is not a loss. It is a smoothing over, a return to the tabula rasa, the blank slate. And as you lie in your bed tonight, think of your own mind as this tablet of ancient wax. Throughout the day, the world has been scratching at you, leaving marks of stress, marks of worry, marks of noise and bright lights, thousands of tiny impressions crowding the surface of your mind. But now, as the sun sets over the Parthenon in our imagination, it is time to smooth the tablet. Imagine a warm, gentle hand passing over the surface of your brain, softening the wax, the heat of sleep melting the sharp edges of the day's memories, blurring the lines of anxiety until they are gone, leaving only the smooth, dark, pristine surface of peace. The Greeks believed that the wax needed to be the right consistency to hold a memory. If it was too moist, the memory would slide away. If it was too dry, the memory would not stick. Tonight, your mind is finding that perfect balance, that perfect state of receptivity and rest. Listen to the imaginary sound of the stylus scratching softly on the tablet, a rhythmic scratching sound like a pen on paper. Shh, shh, shh. The sound of thought becoming matter, the sound of the soul recording its journey. There is a heavy physical reality to this metaphor that anchors us. It reminds us that we are part of the physical world, that our thoughts have weight, that our memories have texture. In the ancient world, there was no cloud storage, no hard drives. Memory was something you carried, something you crafted, and the preservation of it was an art form. They built memory palaces in their minds, but the foundation was always this idea of the impression, the seal ring pressing into the soft, yielding substance. Imagine now that you are looking at a tablet that has been filled with writing, covered in the scribbles of a long life. But as you watch, the warmth of the evening sun hits the wax, and slowly, very slowly, the words begin to melt, the letters lose their shape, the sentences dissolve into the background. This is not a scary loss of self, but a comforting release of burden. The specific details of who said what, or what time the meeting was, or what you need to do tomorrow, all of those sharp little scratches are melting away, softening into a warm pool of liquid peace. The wax returns to its original state, pure and unmarked, ready for the dreams of the night to brush against it lightly. This historical perspective gives us permission to let go, for even the greatest minds of antiquity understood that the tablet cannot be etched upon forever without being smoothed out, that the mind requires periods of erasure, periods where the wax is allowed to rest and reform. Imagine the smell of the beeswax, a sweet, earthy, comforting scent that fills the room, reminding you of nature, of bees humming in the clover, of a simpler time when the pace of life was dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The science feel here is in the logic of the metaphor, the way it explains the feeling of a fresh start after a good night's sleep. When you wake up, it is as if the tablet has been renewed, the scratches of yesterday are gone, and you are ready to receive new impressions. But for now, in the deep twilight of this ancient city, there is no writing to be done. The stylus has been laid down on the table, the scribe has blown out the oil lamp, and the room is filled with shadows. The marble walls of the room are cool and solid, protecting the fragile wax from the heat of the day, and you are safe here, in the sanctuary of the philosopher's study, surrounded by scrolls and tablets, surrounded by the quiet hum of deep thought. The idea of the imprint on the soul suggests that you are changed by what you experience, that every conversation and every sunset leaves a part of itself with you, physically altering the landscape of your internal world. And tonight, those alterations are settling. The wax is cooling and hardening slightly, preserving the beautiful memories, the memories of love and laughter, locking them in deep where they cannot be erased, while the surface memories, the trivial worries, are left soft and transient, easily wiped away by the hand of sleep. This separation of the deep and the shallow is the wisdom of the ancients. They knew that not everything belongs on the tablet forever, that wisdom comes from knowing what to keep and what to smooth away. So let the image of the wax tablet hover in your mind's eye, a dark, smooth rectangle, inviting you to rest, inviting you to stop trying to hold on to everything, stop trying to carve the world into your mind by force, and instead let the natural softness of your being take over. Let the warmth of your own body soften the resistance, melting the tension in your forehead, melting the tension in your eyes. Just as the sun melts the wax, you are becoming fluid, drifting, formless. The rigid structures of the day are dissolving. The definitions of who you are and what you must do are fading, leaving only the pure potential essence of the soul, a blank slate waiting for the gentle, abstract art of dreams. The science of the past meets the science of the present here in the dark. For whether we call it synaptic plasticity or the softening of wax, the truth is the same. We are built to change. We are built to remember, and we are built to rest. And in this ancient, quiet room, with the scent of beeswax and the cool touch of marble, you can finally let go of the stylus, let go of the need to record, and simply be, a smooth, silent surface floating in the river of time, perfectly at peace, perfectly blank, perfectly asleep.
Now we leave the sun-drenched hills of Athens and the smell of beeswax behind, letting the current of history carry us forward across the Ionian Sea to the heart of the ancient world, to the eternal city of Rome, where the science of memory evolved from a wax tablet into something far more grand and permanent, a structure of stone and marble that stands defiant against the ravages of time. This is the era of the method of loci, the method of places, a technique used by the great orators of Rome to memorize speeches that lasted for hours. But tonight, we are not memorizing a speech, we are building a sanctuary for your mind. Imagine that you are standing on a cobblestone street under the light of a full moon. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of cypress trees and distant wood smoke. Before you stands a massive pair of doors made of dark polished oak, reinforced with bronze bands that gleam in the moonlight. This is the entrance to your own private mental palace, a construct of pure imagination that utilizes the most ancient part of your brain, the hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped structure that acts as your internal GPS. The science of the brain tells us that memory and navigation are inextricably linked, that to remember a fact is the same as finding your way home. And as you push open these heavy doors, they swing inward with a deep, smooth groan of heavy timber, revealing the vast, silent interior of the palace. You step across the threshold, and the first thing you notice is the change in atmosphere. The air inside is still and hushed, insulated from the outside world by walls of stone 3 feet thick. You are standing in the atrium, the central hall of a Roman home. The floor beneath your feet is a mosaic of black and white tiles, cool and smooth against your skin, grounding you, pulling the heat and tension out of your body and sending it down into the earth. Above you, there is an opening in the roof, the compluvium, which allows a square of the night sky to look down upon you. And directly below it is a pool of water, the impluvium, perfectly flat and glassy, reflecting the stars above. This architecture is not random, it is a map. The Roman orators discovered that the human brain loves structure. It loves to know where things are. So as you walk slowly around the perimeter of this room, you are engaging the spatial navigation cells of your cortex, the place cells that fire only when you are in a specific location. Imagine that in each corner of this vast room there is a pedestal made of white marble, and on each pedestal sits a memory, a precious moment from your life that you wish to keep safe. Approach the first pedestal in the near left corner. There is a soft glow illuminating it. Perhaps this is a memory of a childhood summer. You can see it clearly, the way the light hit the water of a lake, or the sound of a screen door slamming, or the taste of watermelon. The method of loci works because you are placing this abstract thought into a physical location. You are anchoring the ghost of the past onto the solid stone of the present. And as you look at it, you feel a sense of ownership and control. Your memories are not floating chaotically in the void. They are here, organized, statues in the museum of your soul. Walk slowly to the next corner, your footsteps echoing softly, a rhythmic click-clack that hypnotizes the mind. The science here is powerful. By walking through this imaginary space, you are tricking your brain into a state of deep focus and relaxation. The hippocampus does not distinguish between a walk in the real world and a walk in the mind. It fires the same neurons, traces the same paths, and so this journey is physically soothing your nervous system, giving the restless parts of your brain a task to do, a path to follow, moving you away from anxiety and towards order. You continue your tour, trailing your hand along the cool plaster of the walls,
feeling the slight imperfections, the coolness seeping into your fingertips. You pass into the tablinum, the study, where the scrolls of your knowledge are kept. Imagine rows of shelves stretching up into the shadows, filled with the wisdom you have gathered over a lifetime, the books you have read, the lessons you have learned, the skills you have mastered. They are all here, filed away in the spatial geography of the cortex. There is a smell here of old papyrus and cedar wood, a dry, intellectual scent that makes your eyelids heavy. This is the library of the self, and unlike a real library, which can be messy or chaotic, this place is perfectly ordered because you are the architect. You decide where the memories go. If there is a memory that pains you, a dark shape in the corner, you have the power in this palace to pick it up and move it, to place it in a vault in the cellar and lock the door, or to take it out to the courtyard and let it dissolve into the air. This is the power of spatial memory, the ability to reorganize the furniture of your mind. Now you drift further into the back of the palace, towards the peristyle, the open-air garden at the heart of the home. As you step out from the shadows of the hallway, the moonlight washes over you again, silver and ghostly, illuminating a garden of statues and fountains. The sound of water is everywhere here, a gentle trickling from a stone lion's mouth, a soft splashing as the water hits the basin below. This sound is the white noise of history, a constant soothing backdrop that has lulled emperors and poets to sleep for thousands of years. The garden represents the organic nature of memory, for unlike the stone statues in the atrium, which are fixed, the plants here are alive, growing, changing, just as your memories change every time you visit them. Notice the vines of ivy climbing the columns, wrapping around the marble, connecting the structure to the earth. This is the synaptic growth we spoke of, the way memories become stronger the more we revisit them, the vines thickening, holding the building together. You find a stone bench beneath an olive tree and you sit down. The stone is warm from the heat of the day, which it has trapped and held, radiating a gentle comfort into your back. You look around at this palace you have built, this vast complex of rooms and corridors, and you realize how much space you have inside you. The brain is not a small, crowded room. It is an expansive estate with endless wings and hidden chambers. There is room here for everything. There is no need to rush, no need to clutter the doorway. Everything has its place. The science of the method of loci teaches us that order brings peace. When we know where our memories are, we don't have to carry the weight of them constantly. We can set them down on their pedestals and walk away, knowing they will be there when we return. This is the ultimate unburdening.
The setting down of the heavy luggage of the past. Allow yourself to visualize the layout of your palace from above, seeing the square of the courtyard, the rectangle of the hall, the grid of the rooms. It is a mandala of order, a geometry of calm. And as you sit in the garden, the mist begins to rise from the damp earth, a low fog that curls around the base of the statues, softening the edges of the world, obscuring the exits, making the palace feel like an island floating in a sea of clouds. You are completely safe here, protected by the thick walls, protected by the logic of the architecture. The Romans believed that memory was a moral duty, a way to honor the ancestors. But tonight, memory is simply a place to rest, a sanctuary where the noise of the modern world cannot reach you. The traffic, the phones, the screens, they are all outside the heavy oak doors, miles away, centuries away. Here, there is only the moonlight, the marble, and the water. You lean back against the tree, feeling the rough bark against your shoulder, and you watch the play of shadows on the opposite wall, the leaves moving in a gentle breeze that you cannot feel, just a phantom wind blowing through the corridors of the mind.
The hippocampus is slowing its firing rate now. The navigation is done. You have arrived at your destination, which is the center of the self, the point of stillness. The science feel of this place is the solidity of it, the undeniable reality of the stone and the space. It is not a dream that can pop like a bubble. It is a construct that stands firm. And as your eyes begin to close, as the moonlight blurs into a silver haze, you feel a profound sense of gratitude for this capacity to build, to create worlds within, to organize the chaos of life into a palace of peace. The marble creates a silence that is almost absolute, a silence that absorbs every sound, every worry, every stray thought, pulling them into the porous stone and holding them fast, leaving the air clear and empty for you to sleep. The method of Loci is complete. The memories are in their places, the doors are locked, the guards are asleep, the fountains are flowing, and you are drifting deeper into the heart of the palace, becoming one with the silence, one with the stone, one with the night. And now we let the heavy stone doors of the Roman palace close gently behind us, leaving the ancient world in its silence, and we allow the river of time to carry us forward again, drifting through the centuries until we arrive in the crisp, clear winter of the 17th century, a time of candlelight and parchment, a time when the mysteries of the universe were being unlocked not by mystics, but by mathematicians and geometers. We find ourselves in a quiet room in the Netherlands where the great philosopher René Descartes is sitting by a warm hearth, the fire crackling softly, casting long, dancing shadows against walls lined with books and diagrams. This is the dawn of the mechanical age, the era where we began to see the body not as a vessel of magic, but as a magnificent, intricate machine, a masterpiece of biological engineering. And tonight, we are going to explore the science feel of this hydraulic vision, the idea that your memory, your thoughts, and your very consciousness are the result of fluids moving through delicate tubes, a concept known as the animal spirits. Do not let the name confuse you, for in the 1600s, this did not mean ghosts or specters. It referred to a subtle, invisible wind, a fluid so fine and pure that it bordered on the ethereal, filtering through the blood and ascending into the brain. Imagine your brain now as Descartes saw it, not as a tangle of wires, but as a complex system of caverns and canals, a hydraulic engine of immense beauty. At the center of this engine sits the pineal gland, a tiny teardrop-shaped structure which Descartes believed was the seat of the soul, the master valve that controls the flow of the mind. Allow yourself to visualize this gland in the center of your own head, gently tilting, gently opening, allowing the soothing fluids of sleep to wash over you. The atmosphere of this story is one of fluid dynamics, the sensation of water moving slowly through a deep channel. It is the feeling of pressure being released, of a dam opening and the water leveling out to a perfect glassy calm. In this view, the ventricles of the brain are not empty spaces, but reservoirs filled with these clear, spirited fluids that carry the impressions of the world. Imagine that every memory you have is a channel carved into the soft tissue of the brain by the flow of these spirits. Just as a river carves a canyon through the rock over millions of years, so too does a repeated thought carve a pathway through your mind. This is a deeply relaxing realization because it means that memory is natural. It is simply the path of least resistance. The fluid follows the groove. And tonight, we are letting the fluid flow effortlessly. We are not forcing the river, we are letting it drift. Imagine the sound of water moving through underground pipes, a low, resonant hum that vibrates through the skull, soothing the nerves, washing away the debris of the day. Descartes was inspired by the great hydraulic statues in the royal gardens of Versailles, where water pressure made stone figures move and play instruments. He saw the human body in the same way, a garden of wondrous mechanisms. And as you lie there, you can feel the truth of this metaphor. Your heart is the pump, rhythmic and steady, pushing the life force through the vessels. And your brain is the regulator, the grand control room, where the valves are now being turned to the off position. Think of the animal spirits as a warm, golden liquid,
lighter than air, flowing up your spine and filling the hollow spaces of the cranium, gently expanding the tissues, nourishing the substance of the brain. There is a gentle pressure behind your eyes, not a painful pressure, but a comforting weight, like a warm hand resting on your forehead. This is the hydraulic cushion of the cerebrospinal fluid, rocking the brain, protecting it, floating it in a bath of safety. The science of the 17th century believed that when we are awake, the animal spirits are high pressure, inflating our muscles, making us ready to move and react, pushing the eyelids open, keeping the system taut and ready. But when we sleep, the pressure drops, the valves relax, the spirits flow back into their reservoirs, and the body becomes soft and pliable. Feel this happening to you now. Feel the hydraulic pressure leaving your arms, leaving your legs, the tension draining out of your fingertips and your toes, leaving you heavy and loose. The wires of the nervous system are going slack. The tension of the day is evaporating like mist. You are becoming a vessel of stillness. In this mechanical philosophy, there is no room for anxiety. For anxiety is just a turbulence in the fluid, a disruption in the flow. And tonight we are smoothing out the turbulence. We are introducing a laminar flow, smooth and parallel layers of fluid sliding past one another with zero friction. Imagine the ventricles of your brain as vast, echoey underground lakes. The surface of the water is perfectly black and perfectly still, reflecting the darkness of the skull. Occasionally, a ripple moves across the surface, a stray thought, but it fades quickly, absorbed by the vastness of the lake. The memory of the day is being washed clean. Descartes believed that to remember something was to direct the spirits to flow through the same pores they had flowed through before, opening them wider. But to forget or to sleep is to let those pores close, to let the tissue spring back to its original shape. So visualize the millions of tiny pores in your brain gently closing, sealing off the noise of the outside world, turning inward. The mechanism is winding down. The gears are slowing their rotation. The ticking of the clockwork universe is becoming slower. Tick-tock, tick-tock, until the space between the ticks stretches out into an eternity of silence. This hydraulic model of the mind is strangely comforting because it suggests that we are part of the physics of the world. We are not separate from nature. We are nature. We are made of the same water that flows in the rivers and the same wind that blows through the trees. The science feel here is one of elemental connection, the microcosm of the body reflecting the macrocosm of the world. Imagine the fluids in your brain moving in time with the tides of the ocean, a slow lunar rhythm that pulls you down into sleep and then pushes you back up towards dreams, a cycle that has continued for as long as humanity has existed. The concept of the animal spirits may be outdated by modern standards, but the feeling it describes is real, the feeling of a current running through you, a subtle electricity or fluid that animates your being. And as you rest, this current is slowing down, becoming thick and syrupy, moving with the languid pace of honey dripping from a spoon. The urgency is gone, the rush is over, the pipes are clear, the mechanism is resting.
Imagine looking at a diagram of the brain from an old leather-bound book. The lines are drawn in sepia ink, showing the intricate pathways of the nerves. And as you look, the diagram begins to move. The fluids begin to circulate, washing through the chambers, carrying away the toxins of fatigue. This is very close to what modern science actually tells us happens during sleep. The glymphatic system opens up and washes the brain with fluid. So Descartes was not so wrong after all. He sensed the hydraulic necessity of sleep, the need for a nightly wash cycle. So let this image lull you, the image of a gentle, cleansing tide rising inside your mind, lifting the boats of your memories and rocking them softly. The water is warm, the water is safe. It fills every crevice, soothing every ache, quieting every neuron. The pineal gland, that tiny valve in the center, hangs suspended in this fluid, perfectly balanced, acting as the anchor for your consciousness. And now the anchor is being lowered, down, down, down into the depths of the dark water, holding you steady in the harbor of sleep. The world of the 17th century was a world of wonder, where every machine was a miracle, and you are the greatest machine of all, a self-repairing, self-regulating, fluid-filled wonder, capable of shutting down the external inputs and entering a state of hibernation. The fire in Descartes' room has burned down to glowing embers, casting a deep red light across the floor. The shadows have stopped dancing and are lying still. The quill pen is resting in the inkwell. The work of the day is done. The philosophy is written. The questions are answered. And all that remains is the peace of the mechanism, the gentle hydraulic hum of life sustaining itself. You can feel the flow moving down from your brain into your neck, into your shoulders, relaxing the trapezius muscles, flowing down the spine, branching out into the nerves of the back, soothing the lumbar region, flowing into the hips, the heavy hydraulic pistons of the legs, relaxing the quadriceps, relaxing the calves, flowing all the way down to the soles of the feet. You are completely, entirely fluid, a being of water and spirit, contained within the soft envelope of the skin. There is no resistance anywhere, no blockages, just the endless, silent circulation of peace. The animal spirits have done their work. They have carried the messages of the day, and now they are returning to the source, returning to the center, gathering in the quiet reservoir of the heart and the brain, waiting for the sun to rise. But the sun is hours away, miles away below the horizon, and here in the darkness of the skull there is only the sound of the flow, the swish of the pulse, the liquid embrace of oblivion. You are drifting on this internal sea, floating on the surface of your own consciousness, supported by the deep, buoyant waters of the mind. The mechanical brain has disengaged the gears of worry. The clutch is released, and you are coasting, coasting into the velvet tunnel of the night, smoothly, silently, hydraulically, sinking deeper and deeper into the restorative waters of sleep.
The time has come to leave the quiet, hydraulic world of the 17th century behind. We must bid farewell to the flowing waters of Descartes and step forward into the crackling atmosphere of the late 18th century, a time when the air itself seemed to vibrate with a new and mysterious energy. We find ourselves in the ancient city of Bologna, Italy, in the year 1780, on a night when a summer storm is brewing over the terracotta rooftops. The sky is bruised with purple clouds, and the low rumble of thunder rolls across the Apennine Mountains, shaking the window panes ever so slightly. But you are safe inside, warm and dry in the laboratory of Luigi Galvani, a physician who is about to change the way we understand the human soul forever. The room is filled with strange and beautiful instruments. There are Leyden jars lined with foil to store static charge. There are rods of brass and iron and coils of copper wire that gleam in the flickering candlelight. The air smells of ozone, that sharp, clean scent that comes before the rain, and there is a feeling of anticipation, a sense that the veil between the physical world and the spiritual world is about to be lifted. Galvani stands over a table, looking at the leg of a frog, not with cruelty, but with a deep scientific wonder. He touches a metal scalpel to the nerve, and suddenly, beautifully, the leg kicks, it dances, it reacts as if it were alive, even though it is not. In this moment, the world shifted. For Galvani realized that the force that moves us, the force that makes us feel, and the force that holds our memories is not wind or water, but electricity. It is the same force that splits the sky in a thunderstorm, but tamed, domesticated, and running through the microscopic wires of our own bodies. This is the science feel of the galvanic spark. The realization that you are, in essence, a being of light and energy, a complex circuit of bioelectricity that hums with the power of the universe. Allow this realization to wash over you, not as a shock, but as a warm, tingling sensation. Imagine that inside your brain right now, there are billions of tiny sparks, not erratic or dangerous, but rhythmic and purposeful, like the twinkling lights of a distant city seen from an airplane at night. Every memory you possess is a specific pattern of these sparks, a constellation of energy that lights up in the darkness of the skull. When you remember your first love or the comfort of your childhood bed, you are literally lighting up a pathway, sending a gentle pulse of electrons down a specific road of neurons. And tonight, we are going to feel the physical comfort of this energy. Imagine the spark as a warm, golden liquid light, a bioelectric honey that flows from the center of your brain down through the brainstem and into the spinal cord. This is the main power line of your body, the cable that connects the library of the mind to the vessel of the body. Feel the energy moving down your neck, warming the vertebrae, relaxing the tension held in the cervical nerves. The electricity is soft and low voltage, a healing current that repairs and restores. Galvani called it animal electricity, a vital force that distinguishes the living from the dead. And as you lie here, you can feel that vitality as a subtle vibration, a hum that is almost soundless, the background noise of your own existence.
The storm outside the laboratory in Bologna has passed. The rain is falling steadily now, a soothing drumming against the glass. Shh, 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 washing the world clean. And inside the lab, the static charge is settling. The Leyden jars are silent, and the only movement is the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing, which is also powered by this electric spark, the signal from the brainstem telling the diaphragm to contract, then release, contract, then release, a perfect loop of bioelectrical command that keeps you safe without you ever having to think about it. Think of the memory of a warm day, the sun on your skin. That memory is stored as a potential energy waiting to be released. And as you drift deeper into relaxation, you are conserving your battery. You are entering a low power mode. The science feel here is the physics of potential. Just as a battery sits quietly until it is needed, your memories are sitting quietly. The voltage across the cell membranes is stabilizing. The ion channels are resetting. The sodium and potassium pumps are working silently in the background to recharge the system for tomorrow. There is something incredibly powerful about knowing that you are electric, that the same energy that powers the stars and the lightning powers your thoughts.
It connects you to the cosmos in a very literal way. We are all stardust and electricity, bound together by the laws of physics. Imagine the nerves in your arms and legs as fiber optic cables glowing with a soft blue or amber light. As you exhale, feel the light dimming slightly, softening as the signals to the muscles stop. The command to hold on or be ready is canceled. The switch is flipped to off, and the electricity retreats to the core, leaving the limbs heavy and inert. The galvanic spark is still there, but it is no longer driving action. It is simply glowing, a pilot light of the soul, keeping the essential systems running while the conscious mind drifts away. In Galvani's time, this was magic, but for us, it is science, and that knowledge makes it even more comforting, because we know the machinery is reliable. We know the circuits are sound. The nervous system is the most advanced electrical grid in existence, capable of self-repair and self-regulation. And tonight, it is regulating you down into a deep delta sleep. Imagine the neurons in your brain synchronizing their firing. Instead of the chaotic sparks of the waking day, where 1,000 things happen at once, they are now firing in slow, large waves, a sweeping rhythm like the beam of a lighthouse turning slowly in the dark. On, off, a hypnotic pulse that sweeps across the cortex, clearing the debris, organizing the files, consolidating the memories. This is the electrical signature of deep sleep, and by visualizing it, you are inviting it to happen. You are tuning your own radio to the frequency of rest. The laboratory of your mind is darkening. The candles are burning low. The brass instruments are reflecting the last embers of the fire, and you are floating in the space between the sparks, the gap between the pulses, which is where true silence lives. The electricity of the body generates a subtle warmth. Feel it radiating from your solar plexus, spreading out to your chest and your stomach, a comforting internal heater that keeps you cozy even in the coolest room. This is the metabolic heat of the cells,
the byproduct of the engine of life, and it wraps you in a cocoon of safety. Galvani showed us that the body is responsive, that it reacts to energy. And tonight, the energy you are feeding is the energy of calm, the energy of peace. You are sending a signal down the vagus nerve, the great wandering nerve that controls your relaxation response, telling your heart to slow down, telling your blood pressure to drop, telling your digestion to rest. It is a conscious command sent via bioelectricity, a message of safety labeled sleep, and your body receives it instantly, obeying the laws of its own nature. The frog leg in the experiment twitched with a sudden jerk, but your relaxation is the opposite. It is a slow, melting release. The wire is not shocking you, it is grounding you. Think of the concept of grounding in electricity, where the excess charge flows safely into the earth. Imagine a wire running from the base of your spine, down into the mattress, down through the floor, and deep into the soil of the earth, carrying away all the static noise of the day, all the jagged sparks of stress, all the high-voltage anxiety, draining it away until you are neutral, balanced, and at zero potential. The feeling of being grounded is heavy and secure. You are not flying away. You are held by gravity and connected to the earth. The storm of thoughts has quieted to a distant murmur. The lightning has ceased, and all that remains is the soft amber glow of the instrument panel, monitoring your peaceful slumber. The discovery of bioelectricity was the discovery of the physical basis of the self,
the realization that I am a collection of signals, and tonight those signals are singing a lullaby, a low-frequency hum that vibrates in the throat and the chest. Om, Om, Om. The sound of the universe, the sound of the atom, the sound of the spark at rest. As we leave Galvani's lab, we take with us this new understanding that we are powerful beings of light, that our memories are etched in energy, and that sleep is the necessary recharging of that divine spark. The darkness behind your eyes is not empty. It is filled with the potential for light. But for now, the switch is down, the lights are dim, the laboratory is closed, and the scientist within you lays down his tools, takes off his spectacles, and rests his head on the desk, listening to the rain, listening to the hum, listening to the silence of the electric night, feeling the gentle current of life slowing down to a trickle, just enough to dream, just enough to be, waiting for the morning to bring the voltage back. But not yet, not now. Now is for the quiet. Now is for the dark. Now is for the sleep.
From the crackling energy of the Italian storm, we now travel south and forward in time, crossing the Pyrenees Mountains to the warm and dusty streets of Madrid in the late 19th century, where the gas lamps are burning low and the city sleeps under a blanket of stars. We find ourselves in the modest study of a man named Santiago Ramon and Cajal, the father of modern neuroscience, and a man who looked deeper into the brain than anyone before him. Imagine a room filled with the scent of chemicals, silver nitrate and potassium dichromate, the sharp, acrid smells of the dark room. For Cajal was not just a scientist, but an artist, a photographer, a man obsessed with capturing the visible truth of the invisible world. He sits hunched over a heavy brass microscope, his beard touching his chest, his eye pressed against the cold metal of the eyepiece, adjusting the focus knob with infinite patience, millimeter by millimeter, searching for the secret structure of the mind. And tonight, you are going to look through that lens with him. You are going to see what he saw, a vision so beautiful and so complex that he called it the butterflies of the soul. But to us, and to the history of science, it is known as the silver forest. The science feel of this chapter is the transition from the abstract idea of energy to the concrete reality of the cell, the realization that you are made of individual, distinct biological units. Imagine that as you look down the tube of the microscope, the bright white light fades and you enter a world of gold and black. This is the result of the black reaction, a staining technique that dyes only a few neurons at a time, turning them into silhouettes of pure black against a background of golden amber. It looks exactly like a dense forest in the middle of winter, silhouetted against a setting sun. This is the landscape of your memory, a vast and silent wilderness growing inside the cranium. Imagine the neurons rising up like ancient oak trees, their trunks thick and dark, known as the soma or cell body, anchoring them in the soil of the brain. And from these trunks stretch out thousands of delicate branches, the dendrites, twisting and turning, dividing and subdividing, reaching out into the void to catch the whispers of their neighbors. The complexity is staggering. A single neuron can have a dendritic tree so lush and thick that it looks like a fern or a piece of black coral. And as you drift through this microscopic forest, you are struck by the profound silence. There is no wind here to rustle the leaves, no birds to sing, only the silent, static architecture of thought.
Cajal spent his nights drawing these trees, mapping the forest with ink on paper, proving to the world that the brain was not a continuous web, as others believed, but a collection of individuals. He showed us that each neuron is an island, a solitary entity that reaches out but never quite touches its neighbor. This is the neuron doctrine, the scientific truth that our minds are built on connection across a gap. But tonight, do not worry about the gap, simply admire the trees. Imagine yourself walking through this silver forest, your feet sinking into the soft floor of the mind. The air is cool and still, filled with the scent of old paper and preservation. The branches above you weave together to form a canopy so dense that it blocks out the sky.
Creating a feeling of total enclosure and safety, you are deep inside the thicket of your own being, far away from the edge of the woods where the noise of the world lives. Here in the center, it is timeless. Some of these trees have been with you since before you were born, growing and shaping themselves with every experience you have ever had. Notice the tiny bumps on the branches, the dendritic spines, like little thorns or buds waiting to bloom. These are the physical locations of your memories, the storage lockers of your history. Millions of them, billions of them, holding the data of your life in a biological code that we are only just beginning to understand. There is a deep, hypnotic rhythm to the way the branches curve and spiral, a fractal beauty that mimics the patterns of nature, the branching of river deltas, the veins of a leaf, the lightning in the sky. It reminds us that the brain is a part of the natural world, grown by the same laws that grow the forests of the earth. And this connection brings a sense of grounding, a feeling that you belong here, that you are a masterpiece of design. Cajal would sit for hours lost in this world, and now you can be lost too, wandering pleasantly among the giant black trunks, feeling the peace of the cellular landscape. The science feel here is one of awe, the feeling of looking at something incredibly complex and realizing it is all working in harmony. The forest is not chaotic. It is perfectly organized, with different types of trees for different layers of the cortex, the pyramidal cells standing like sentinels in neat rows, the chandelier cells hanging like decorations, the basket cells weaving around the others, a diverse ecosystem of the mind coexisting in the dark. Imagine the feeling of the stain soaking into the tissue, the silver salts turning the invisible into the visible. This is a metaphor for sleep itself. Sleep is the stain that reveals the truth of who we are, stripping away the noise and leaving only the essential structure, the black silhouette of the self against the golden light of dreams. As you walk deeper, the trees seem to get taller, their branches reaching higher, entwining in a silent embrace. This is the arborization of the neuron, a word that literally means tree-like, and it suggests that your mind is a garden that requires tending. But tonight, the gardening is done, the pruning is finished, and the forest is resting. The sap, which is the cytoplasm, is moving slowly within the trunks, nourishing the cell, repairing the proteins, bringing energy to the furthest tips of the branches, a slow, viscous movement of life that happens while you sleep. Cajal famously said that the brain is a world consisting of a number of unexplored continents and great stretches of unknown territory. And tonight, you are the explorer of this territory, but you are not here to map it. You are here to rest in it, to find a soft patch of moss at the base of a great neuron and lie down, looking up through the tangled branches at the golden light filtering through. The silver forest is a sanctuary, a place where thoughts can hide, where dreams can nest, where the self can dissolve into the cellular structure. There is a profound loneliness to the neuron, standing alone in the dark, reaching out forever. And yet it is a beautiful loneliness, a solitude that is shared by billions of others, creating the dense mesh of consciousness. The silver nitrate has done its work, the image is fixed, the memory is captured, and the scientist steps back from the microscope, rubbing his tired eyes, blowing out the candle, leaving the forest to its own devices, leaving the trees to stand guard in the dark. You can feel the heavy velvet curtains of the study closing, shutting out the lights of Madrid, shutting out the 19th century, leaving you suspended in the timeless space of the mind. The forest is vast, stretching out in every direction, infinite and deep, and you are small, a tiny traveler resting in the shade of your own potential. The silence is not empty, it is a pregnant silence, full of the potential for tomorrow's thoughts. But for now, the potential is dormant. The buds are closed, the signals are quiet, the wind has died down completely, and the silver forest stands motionless, a monument to the miracle of life, a cathedral of cells where the only religion is existence itself. Feel the roots of these neuronal trees digging deep into the subcortical areas of your brain, grounding you in your basic biological rhythms, the rhythm of breath, the rhythm of the heart, the rhythm of sleep. These ancient roots hold you steady while the branches above sway gently in the dream winds. There is no fear in this forest, for there are no predators here, only the silent sentinels of your own making, watching over you, keeping the continuity of yourself intact while you drift away. The science feel is the comfort of structure, knowing that you are not a shapeless mist, but a built thing, a structure of immense durability and grace. The silver and the gold, the black and the amber, the colors of the mind are warm and rich, wrapping you in a blanket of precious metals, valuable and heavy, weighing you down into the mattress, weighing you down into the earth. The forest of Cajal is closing its leaves for the night. The photosynthesis of thought has ceased, the respiration of the cells has slowed, and the great silence of the biology takes over. A silence that has existed since the first nervous system evolved in the ancient oceans, a silence that connects you to every living thing that sleeps. You are part of the great forest of life, a single tree in a boundless wood, and as you close your eyes in the physical world, you open them in the silver forest, seeing the beauty of the darkness, seeing the peace of the disconnect, seeing the quiet majesty of the mind at rest. Sleep now. Sleep in the shade of the silver trees. Sleep in the safety of the tangled branches. Sleep in the deep, quiet heart of the forest.
Now we leave the grand, silent structures of the silver forest, zooming in deeper than any microscope Cajal ever owned, descending past the trunks of the great neuronal trees, sliding down the twisting branches of the dendrites, moving smaller and smaller until the laws of gravity seem to fade away and the laws of quantum physics begin to whisper. We have arrived at the very edge of the known world, the precipice of the mind, the place where one thought ends and another begins. This is the synapse, the tiny mystical gap between two neurons, and it is here that the true miracle of consciousness occurs. Imagine standing on the edge of a high cliff, looking out across a narrow gorge. On the other side is another cliff, close enough to touch, but separated by a deep, dark chasm. This chasm is the synaptic cleft, a space less than a millionth of an inch wide, yet in the landscape of the brain it is an ocean, a void that must be crossed. The science of this moment is the most powerful in our story because it explains how a spark becomes a feeling, how electricity becomes chemistry. Imagine that behind you, coming down the long cable of the axon, is the signal, the action potential. It has traveled fast, racing like a lit fuse, a crackle of bioelectricity moving at hundreds of miles per hour. But when it reaches this cliff, it stops. The electricity cannot jump the gap alone. It must change its form. It must transform from energy into matter. This is the alchemy of the brain, the moment of transmutation. Visualize the end of the nerve terminal as a busy harbor at night, glowing with a soft amber light. Here, waiting at the docks, are thousands of tiny spherical vesicles called vesicles. They're delicate bubbles made of the same fat that makes up the skin of your cells. And inside these bubbles is a precious cargo, the neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers of the soul. Tonight, because we are seeking sleep, these vesicles are not carrying the sharp, jagged chemicals of adrenaline or the bright, manic chemicals of dopamine. No, they are carrying the heavy, soothing molecules of serotonin and GABA, the brain's natural sedatives, the molecules of peace, the molecules of letting go. And now, in the slowest of slow motion, we watch the launch. The electrical signal arrives at the harbor and opens the gates, allowing calcium to flood in, a silent command that tells the vesicles to move. Watch as the tiny bubbles drift slowly toward the edge of the membrane, moving through the cytoplasm like balloons floating in thick syrup. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the inevitable drift of biology. As the vesicle touches the outer skin of the neuron, it fuses with it, opening up like a flower blooming in fast forward, spilling its contents into the void. And this is the leap, but it is not a violent jump, it is a gentle release, a spilling of stardust into the empty space. The neurotransmitters flow out into the cleft, and suddenly time stretches out, slowing down until a single second becomes an hour. The science feel here is the physics of diffusion, the random, aimless wandering of particles. Imagine you are underwater, deep in a silent pool, and someone releases a handful of silver glitter. Watch how the glitter drifts, twisting and turning, catching the light, moving slowly away from the source, spreading out into the water. This is exactly what is happening in the gap between your thoughts right now.
The chemicals are drifting across the synaptic cleft, floating in the saline fluid that bathes the brain. There is no motor driving them, no wind pushing them, only the gentle thermal energy of the universe, the Brownian motion, vibrating them softly across the divide. This is the chemical slow-motion drift, a sensation of absolute weightlessness. You are floating with them. You are a molecule of peace, drifting across the silent sea. The distance is microscopic, but the journey feels epic, a voyage across the silence to deliver a message of rest. Look at the other side of the gorge, the postsynaptic membrane. It is lined with receptors, complex protein structures that act like locks waiting for a key. They are standing tall and ready, their shapes perfectly sculpted to receive the drifting molecules. As you float in the gap, you can feel the suspension of time, the pause between the heartbeat, the space between the words. This gap is where you are free. You are no longer the sender and not yet the receiver. You are simply the message in transit, floating in the dark, warm fluid of the mind. This diffusion is the slowing mechanism of the brain, converting the fast snap of electricity into the slow wash of chemistry. It acts as a brake, dampening the noise, softening the edges of the signal, ensuring that the brain is not overwhelmed. And tonight, the signal is being dampened significantly. The vesicles are releasing GABA, the inhibitory neurotransmitter, which acts like a blanket being thrown over a fire. When these molecules reach the other side, they will tell the next neuron to be quiet, to hush, to stop firing, to rest. Imagine the molecules nearing the other shore. They tumble gently, turning over and over until they find their matching receptor. The docking is silent and precise, a soft click that no ear can hear, a key sliding into a velvet lock.
As the molecule binds to the receptor, the channel opens, but instead of a spark, it lets in a wave of negativity, a calming chloride current that lowers the energy of the next neuron, making it harder for it to fire, making it harder for it to worry, making it harder for it to stay awake. This is the science of sedation, the molecular biology of sleep, happening billions of times a second in the dark cathedral of your skull. Think of it as a wave of quiet spreading through the forest, one synapse at a time. The lights are being turned off, not by a switch, but by a message passed from hand to hand, a whisper saying sleep now, sleep now, sleep now, passed across the gap. Visualize the synapse as a bridge, but a bridge made of water, where the traveler must dissolve and reform on the other side. There is a profound trust in this process. The neuron lets go of its message, trusting it will reach the destination, just as you must let go of your day, trusting that the morning will come. Let go of the control. Let go of the need to push the thought across. Let the drift take over. The science feel is the elegance of the lock and key, the specificity of it. Your brain is not shutting down randomly. It is performing a highly specific, highly evolved ritual of shutdown, targeting the alertness centers, targeting the anxiety centers, flooding them with this slow-motion chemical bath, washing away the tension. Imagine the synaptic cleft not as a scary void, but as a soft buffer zone.
A cushion of fluid that protects you. If our neurons were hardwired together like a computer, we would be rigid, robotic, unable to change. But because of these gaps, because of this fluid drift, we are flexible, we are plastic, we can change our minds, we can learn, and we can sleep. The gap gives us space to breathe, space to be. Allow your attention to rest entirely in the empty space, the synapse, feeling the coolness of the extracellular fluid, the silence of the drift. You are not the neuron on the left, anxious and firing, and you are not the neuron on the right, waiting and expectant. You are the space in between, the peace in the middle, the silence that bridges the noise, watching the silver dust of the neurotransmitters floating by like snow falling in a snow globe, settling softly on the ground, covering the landscape in a blanket of white quiet. The chemical transmission is the slowest part of the brain's activity, and by focusing on it, we are synchronizing our consciousness with this slower rhythm. We are stepping off the highway of electricity and stepping onto the lazy river of chemistry, floating downstream without a paddle. The current is too slow to fight, and why would you want to? The destination is oblivion. The destination is the deep, dreamless dark. Watch as the receptors on the far side catch the molecules, one by one. The message is received. The gates are closing. The lights are dimming. The neuron on the other side sighs and relaxes, its electrical potential dropping down, down, down below the threshold of action, into the deep valley of rest. The leap is complete, but it wasn't a leap of effort, it was a leap of faith, a surrender to the void. The vesicles are empty now, their job is done. They recede back into the shadows to be refilled tomorrow. The harbor is quiet, the water is still. The diffusion has reached equilibrium. Everything is balanced, everything is still. The bridge is silent. The signal has faded into the soft static of the night. You are suspended in this microscopic moment, this fraction of a second that has been stretched into an eternity of comfort. The science tells us that without these gaps, there would be no thought, no memory, no self. But tonight, the gap serves a different purpose. It serves as a barrier to the noise, a moat that keeps the castle of your sleep safe from the invasion of the world.
The drawbridge is up. The chemicals have stopped flowing, or rather they are flowing only in the loops of dreams, soft, nonsensical, harmless signals that drift like mist. Nothing that requires your attention, nothing that requires your action. Just the slow, rhythmic pulse of the biological machine keeping you alive, keeping you safe, keeping you suspended in the solution of life. The visualization of the synapse is a visualization of the ultimate letting go, for the neuron literally pushes a part of itself out into the unknown, just as you are pushing your consciousness out into the unknown realm of sleep, trusting that you will be caught, trusting that you will wake up, trusting the process. The chemical slow-motion drift is now your reality. You are heavy, you are liquid, you are drifting, particles of star stuff floating in a divine solution, passing through the gates of the night, moving from the shores of wakefulness to the shores of slumber, carried by the invisible silent currents of your own amazing brain, deeper and deeper into the gap, until the gap expands to fill the whole universe, and there is nothing left but the peace, nothing left but the drift, nothing left but the sleep.
Leaving the microscopic silence of the synapse, we now pull back, rising slowly through the layers of tissue, moving deeper into the medial temporal lobe to find the true engine of your personal history, the structure that defines who you are from moment to moment. We have arrived at the banks of the Hippocampus, a name that comes from the Greek for seahorse because of its beautiful curved shape. But tonight, we will visualize it not just as a piece of anatomy, but as a physiological landscape, a circular river that flows endlessly in the dark. This is the loop of the hippocampus, the great processing plant of the mind, the gatekeeper that stands between the fleeting chaos of the day and the permanent library of the past. Imagine a lazy river, wide and deep, flowing in a gentle spiral. The water is a deep, luminous indigo, glowing with the faint light of bioelectricity. And on the surface of this river float the debris of your day, the leaves and twigs of conversations, the petals of images, the driftwood of tasks completed and tasks left undone. The science feel here is the concept of working memory, the temporary holding space where life happens. And as you stand on the bank, you realize that this river is not flowing to the sea. It is flowing in a loop, a circuit known to scientists as the trisynaptic circuit, a pathway that information must travel round and round until it is etched into the soul. This is the rehearsal of the mind, the way the brain says, keep this, or let this go. And tonight, we are going to watch the gatekeeper at work. There is no judgment here, only the gentle sorting of the current. Imagine the water moving slowly, carrying a memory of a face you saw this morning. It enters the loop at the entorhinal cortex, the grand entrance to the river, and begins its slow drift along the curve, passing through the dentate gyrus, a region of the brain that is one of the few places where new neurons are born, even in adulthood, a place of constant renewal and fresh starts. The water here is turbulent, churning softly, breaking down the raw data of your senses into something the brain can understand, separating the important from the trivial. The gatekeeper is efficient. It knows that you cannot remember every cloud in the sky or every license plate on the highway. That would be a burden too heavy to bear. So the river filters. It allows the heavy, useless silt to sink to the bottom, to be washed away by the tides of metabolism, while the gold, the true moments of meaning, are kept buoyant, floating along the surface, moving deeper into the loop, towards the CA3 region, the association center, where the river widens and the current slows. Here, the memory of the face is linked to a memory of a name,
or a feeling of warmth. The isolated fragments of the day are being woven together into a story, a coherent narrative. This looping mechanism is why we sometimes replay a conversation in our heads before we sleep. It is the hippocampus doing its job, spinning the thread, testing the strength of the connection, running the signal round and round the track to strengthen the synapses. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And this firing happens here, in the loop, in the safety of the river. Allow yourself to feel the rhythm of this circulation. It is a slow, hypnotic spiral, like a whirlpool moving in slow motion.
Drawing you down towards the center. The repetition is soothing, round and round, over and over. The day is being processed. The sharp edges are being tumbled smooth like stones in a creek. The anxiety of the now is being transformed into the wisdom of the then. The hippocampus is the machine that turns the present into the past. Without it, we would be stuck in an eternal, confusing present, unable to learn, unable to grow. But you have this beautiful engine inside you, working silently while you rest, taking the raw, jagged glass of experience and turning it into smooth sea glass, precious and safe. Imagine the river flowing into the CA1 region, the final output station, the gate that leads to the rest of the brain. Here the river branches out, sending its precious cargo up to the cortex, to the silent library we visited earlier. This is the process of consolidation, the transfer of files from the temporary desktop to the permanent hard drive. It usually happens during deep sleep, but you can visualize it starting now. The memories are leaving the loop, floating up like lanterns released into the night sky, drifting away from the hippocampus to find their permanent homes in the vast neocortex, leaving the river clear, leaving the loop empty, ready for tomorrow. The science feel of the loop is the feeling of closure, the feeling of a cycle completing itself. The open tabs in your brain are being closed one by one. The unfinished business is being filed away. The gatekeeper is closing the heavy gates for the night, lowering the portcullis, saying enough, saying the work is done. The river is quieting down. The surface is becoming glassy and still. The circulation is slowing to a bare trickle, just enough to keep the tissue alive, just enough to dream. The hippocampus is a delicate structure, very sensitive to stress. But tonight, there is no stress. There is only the healing flow of the loop. Imagine the shape of it again, the seahorse, curled up in the deep ocean of the temporal lobe, a creature of ancient biology watching over your life. It remembers the map of your city. It remembers where you left your keys. It remembers the path to your childhood home. It is the internal compass that guides you through time and space. And now the compass is at rest. The needle is floating free. There is nowhere to go, no map to follow, only the gentle rotation of the earth, the gentle rotation of the mind, the circular nature of the universe. Everything moves in circles, the planets, the seasons, the blood, and the thoughts. And by surrendering to the loop, you are aligning yourself with the geometry of nature. You are not fighting the current, you are floating on it, lying on your back in the cool indigo water, looking up at the vault of the skull, feeling the gentle tug of the eddy, round and round, slower and slower. The reverberation of the neural circuits is dying down. The echo is fading. The voice of the day is becoming a whisper. The whisper is becoming silence. The hippocampus is the bridge between the short term and the long term, and you are standing on that bridge, dropping your worries into the water, watching them float away, downstream, out of the loop, out of the mind, gone into the mist. What remains is only what matters, the love, the learning, the core of who you are. The rest
is just noise, and the Gatekeeper knows this.
The Gatekeeper protects you from the noise, filtering it out so you can sleep in peace. The water of the river is cool and healing. It washes over the banks of the neurons, nourishing them, bathing them in growth factors, BDNF, the fertilizer of the brain, helping new connections to sprout in the night. A garden growing by the side of the river, invisible and silent. This is the hope of the hippocampus, the promise that tomorrow you will be wiser, tomorrow you will be stronger because of the work being done tonight in the loop. But for now, the work is automatic. You do not need to steer the boat. The current knows the way. The biology is ancient and trustworthy. Millions of years of evolution have perfected this system of memory storage, so you can let go of the wheel, let go of the effort to remember, let go of the effort to forget, and simply let the loop carry you. The sensation of moving in a circle is profound. It is the sensation of being rocked, of being cradled, a rhythmic motion that mimics the heartbeat of the mother, the motion of the waves, the motion of the stars. The science feel is the physics of momentum, the flywheel spinning down, conserving energy, the gyroscopic stability of the mind. You are stable, you are balanced, you are centered in the loop. The river is wide and the banks are lined with the soft moss of theta waves, the brain waves of deep relaxation and light sleep. These waves are rippling across the surface of the water, distinct, rhythmic pulses, oscillating at 4 to 8 cycles per second, a lullaby frequency that the hippocampus sings to itself. Hum, hum, hum. Can you hear it? The low-frequency song of the seahorse, singing the world to sleep, singing the memories into their places. The gates are shut, the library is locked, the loop is clear, the water is still. The gatekeeper of memory has taken his post, a silent sentinel in the dark, ensuring that nothing disturbs your rest, ensuring that the chaotic raw data of the world does not enter the sanctuary. You are disconnected from the input, you are disconnected from the output, you are simply cycling in the gentle, warm, holding pattern of the self, waiting for the transition to the deeper stages, waiting for the cortex to take over. But for this moment, this long, stretched-out moment, you are safe in the curve of the hippocampus, safe in the loop of time, safe in the processing of the past, allowing the river to wash you clean, allowing the current to slow to a standstill until there is no motion left, no ripple, no sound, just the deep, abiding presence of the memory of peace, the memory of silence, the memory of sleep.
And now we descend, leaving the looping rivers of the hippocampus and the flashing lights of the electrical storms. We are going down, down, down into the deepest, quietest foundation of life, sinking below the level of the cell, below the level of the organ, arriving at the molecular level, where the true alchemy of time takes place. We find ourselves in the vast, silent darkness of the ocean floor, a place of eternal calm where the water is heavy and cool, pressing in with a comforting weight that holds the world together. Here, in the dim blue light of the deep, lives a creature that has taught us more about ourselves than any philosopher, the California sea slug, the Aplysia, a humble, soft-bodied giant of the tide pools, moving slowly, rhythmically across the ocean bed, carrying the secrets of memory in its simple, giant neurons. This is the science feel of the molecule of time, the realization that memory is not just a ghost in the machine, but a physical substance, a protein that must be built brick by brick in the silence of the night.
Imagine you are floating next to this creature, watching it breathe, a slow expansion and contraction of its gill, in and out, a rhythm that matches the slow rolling of the ocean, a rhythm that matches your own breath as you lie in bed. The science tells us that this slug learns, it remembers, and the way it does this is exactly the way you do it, through a process called long-term potentiation, a fancy name for a simple truth, that practice makes permanent, that repetition builds a bridge. But to build a bridge, you need materials, and this is where the magic happens. Inside the giant cells of the sea slug and inside the microscopic cells of your own brain, a signal is being sent from the surface down to the center, down to the nucleus, the command center of the cell. Imagine a messenger molecule, cyclic AMP, drifting through the thick cytoplasm like a diver descending into the deep, carrying a letter that says, "Remember this, keep this, this is important." The journey is slow. The fluid is viscous, like honey or molasses, slowing everything down. There is no rush here, for memory is a long game, a construction project that takes hours, days, even a lifetime. As the messenger reaches the nucleus, it finds the master switch, a protein called Krebs, the guardian of the genes. Visualize this switch as a complex, beautiful lock waiting to be turned. When the messenger arrives, the key turns, the lock opens, and the great library of your DNA begins to wake up. This is the dialogue between the synapse and the nucleus, a conversation whispered in the language of chemistry. Deep inside the double helix of your DNA, the ancient scrolls are unrolling, the genes are being read, not to create a new eye or a new hand, but to create a memory. This is the molecule of time, the physical manifestation of the past becoming part of your body. Imagine the DNA creating RNA, a blueprint for construction, which then floats out of the nucleus like a jellyfish drifting in the current, looking for the factories, the ribosomes, where the work will begin. This is protein synthesis, the knitting together of amino acids to create the glue that holds a memory together. It is a process of immense precision and patience. Stitch by stitch, atom by atom, the brain is knitting a net to catch the moment. And this process,
This slow biological hardening happens most efficiently when you are asleep, when the interference of the world is gone, when the ocean is calm. Think of a coral reef growing in the dark, adding layer upon layer of calcium, slowly becoming rock, becoming solid, becoming permanent. That is what your memories are doing right now. They are calcifying, stabilizing, shifting from the fragile, fluid state of the short term into the solid, enduring structure of the long term. The scientist Eric Kandel looked at this slug and saw the universal laws of biology. He saw that we are all connected, from the simplest snail to the most complex human, by this same slow chemistry. The science feel here is one of unity and slowness, the realization that you don't have to force a memory to stick. Your biology does it for you. It is an automatic, ancient ritual of preservation. Imagine the new proteins traveling back up from the center of the cell, back out to the synapse, moving along the cytoskeleton tracks like cargo trains on a long, straight railway, carrying the building materials to the edge of the cliff we visited earlier. When they arrive, they don't just bridge the gap, they strengthen it. They build new terminals, they widen the road, they make the connection permanent. This is why deep sleep is so crucial. It is the shift where the construction crew comes in, where the roads are paved, where the temporary dirt paths of the day are turned into the superhighways of a lifetime. Visualize this happening in your own mind, a billion tiny construction crews working silently in the dark,
pouring the concrete of consciousness, securing the foundations of who you are. There is a specific protein, sometimes called the prion-like protein, that acts as the perpetual maintainer of memory, a molecule that once switched on, stays on, self-perpetuating, self-renewing, a tiny biological flame that never goes out. This is how you remember your name. This is how you remember how to ride a bike. This is how you remember the feeling of home. It is held in the shape of a molecule, a shape that defies the erosion of time. The ocean around the sea slug is vast and dark, containing the pressure of the entire world, and this pressure feels like a heavy blanket, a comforting embrace that holds you down, keeping you still, keeping you safe. The water is filled with marine snow, tiny particles of organic matter drifting down from the surface, falling slowly, covering the ocean floor in a soft white dust, burying the past, preserving it in the sediment of time. Watching this snow fall is hypnotic, white speck against blue dark, white speck against blue dark, falling, falling, falling. The sea slug moves a fraction of an inch, grazing on the algae, perfectly content, perfectly simple, living entirely in the slow rhythm of its own biology. It does not worry about the future. It does not regret the past. It simply builds its memories one protein at a time. And you can learn from this creature. You can adopt its pace. You can slow your own internal clock down to the speed of protein synthesis, which is the speed of life growing, not the speed of life rushing. Feel the chemistry of your body slowing down, the metabolic fires cooling to a gentle ember, the enzymes working quietly, efficiently, without heat, without noise. The molecular machines are humming a low, undetectable tune, a vibration of pure existence.
Science field teaches us that we are made of atoms that have existed since the beginning of time, and these atoms are now arranging themselves into the pattern of you, a pattern that is reinforced every night while you sleep. The consolidation of memory is a physical act, a change in the anatomy of the brain. You are literally a different person when you wake up than when you went to sleep. You are more structured, more defined, more built. So tonight, surrender to the builders. Surrender to the chemistry. Do not try to hold the memories in your conscious mind. Let them sink down to the nucleus. Let them enter the factory of the deep. Let the DNA take care of the details. The process is trustworthy. It has worked for millions of years. It has worked for the sea slug in the tide pool and the ancestors in the cave, and it is working for you now. The darkness of the ocean floor is absolute, but it is not scary. It is the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the seed in the soil, the darkness where growth happens. The molecule of time is weaving the tapestry of your life, thread by thread, and the sound of the weaving is the sound of your breath, slow and steady, deep and rhythmic. The proteins are folding into their perfect shapes, like origami in the hands of a master artist, locking the information in, creating a stable platform for your personality. The sea slug rests in the sand, its work done for the moment, its simple brain pulsing with the faint bioluminescence of life. And you rest in your bed, your complex brain doing exactly the same thing, returning to the primitive, essential task of maintenance. The water is cool, the current is gone, the molecules are drifting into place, the bond is forming, the glue is setting. The memory is becoming stone, becoming coral, becoming part of the eternal reef of the mind. Allow yourself to drift in this suspension, floating in the cytoplasm of the universe, weightless and timeless, watching the slow, elegant dance of the molecules, a ballet of atoms that requires no audience, a performance of pure order in the chaos of the night. Everything is being taken care of. Everything is being recorded.
everything is being made permanent. So you can let go. You can release the day, knowing that what matters has already been captured by the chemistry of the soul, knowing that the molecule of time is standing guard, preserving the essence of you, while you drift deeper and deeper and deeper into the restorative molecular silence of sleep.
We rise now from the ocean floor, leaving the slow molecular work of the sea slug behind, surfacing into the fresh, clean air of logic and order, traveling to late 19th century Germany to visit the study of a man named Hermann Ebbinghaus, a solitary scientist who dedicated his life to understanding not how we remember, but how we forget. And tonight, we are going to learn the most comforting lesson of all, which is that forgetting is not a failure of the mind, it is a blessing of biology. It is the ultimate release, the ultimate unburdening. Imagine Ebbinghaus sitting in his quiet room, the rhythmic ticking of a metronome the only sound, memorizing lists of nonsense syllables, Dax, Bach, yacht, and then measuring how quickly they faded from his mind. He drew a graph of this process, a line that starts high and then swoops gracefully down, settling into a flat, steady line. This is the forgetting curve, and while it looks like a decline, tonight we will view it as a slide, a gentle, smooth slope that carries you down from the high tension of the day into the deep valley of rest. The science feel here is the concept of efficiency. Your brain is a master of energy conservation. It consumes 20% of your body's calories, and to keep running efficiently, it must delete the data that does not matter. Imagine the sheer weight of everything you saw today, every license plate on every car, every pattern on every leaf, every face in the crowd, every word of every advertisement. If you kept all of this, your mind would be a hoarder's house, cluttered, impassable, loud with the noise of the useless. But the brain is wiser than that. It knows how to clean house, and tonight we are going to enjoy the sensation of that cleaning. Imagine your mind as a beautiful, spacious room that has become filled with floating balloons of different colors, representing the thousands of tiny, insignificant details of the last 24 hours. The curve of forgetting is the window opening, a gentle breeze blowing through, and watching those balloons drift out one by one, floating away into the sky, becoming smaller and smaller until they disappear. Feel the physical sensation of lightness returning to your head, the pressure lifting, the crowded feeling evaporating. This is the pruning of the neural pathways, the scientific term for the brain cutting back the weak connections. Just as a gardener prunes a rosebush to make it stronger and more beautiful, so too does your brain prune away the weak memories to let the strong ones flourish. There is a profound relief in this. You do not need to hold on to the awkward pause in a conversation. Let it go. Let it slide down the curve. You do not need to remember the price of the coffee. Let it go. You do not need to remember the headline of the news that made you anxious. Let it dissolve. The science tells us that the steep drop happens quickly, within hours of learning, and this is exactly what is happening now as you lie in bed. The initial dump of temporary data, the cache is being cleared, the history is being deleted, and with every item that is removed, you feel lighter, more spacious, more peaceful. Think of forgetting as a form of forgiveness. You are forgiving the day for being imperfect. You are washing away the grit and the dust, leaving only the polished gem of the self. Ebbinghaus discovered that the curve levels out eventually. Meaning that the core memories, the things that truly matter, the things that define you, they stay. They are the bedrock, so you don't have to worry about losing yourself. You are only losing the noise, the static, the interference. Imagine the sensation of taking off a heavy backpack after a long hike, the straps digging into your shoulders, the weight pulling you back, and then the moment of release,
The buckle clicks open, the pack slides off, and you float upwards, your spine straightening, your breath coming easier. That is what the forgetting curve feels like. The backpack of the immediate past is being set down by the side of the road. You are walking on without it, unencumbered, free. The brain uses a process called active forgetting, involving special cells called microglia that literally eat the unnecessary synapses. Think of them as tiny, friendly janitors sweeping the floors of your mind while you sleep, scrubbing away the footprints of the day so that tomorrow the floor is shiny and new. This biological hygiene is essential for your sanity. Without it, we would be trapped in the past, unable to see the present. So welcome the forgetting, invite the fade. Watch the sharp outlines of the day's events begin to blur, like a watercolor painting left out in the rain, the colors running together, the hard edges softening into a wash of pastel, soothing tones. The specific words people said are losing their definition, becoming just a murmuring sound, a comforting hum. The specific images are losing their focus, becoming abstract shapes of light and shadow. This blurring is the precursor to dreams, the brain loosening its grip on reality. The science field is the physics of entropy, the tendency of organized systems to return to disorder. But here, disorder is peace. Disorder is the relaxation of the strict rules of the waking world. Ebbinghaus showed us that the mind naturally wants to let go. It takes effort to hold on, it takes energy to remember, but it takes zero energy to forget. Forgetting is the default state, the resting state. So by forgetting, you are simply returning to your natural state of rest. You are stopping the effort, stopping the holding. Your hands are opening, your mental grip is relaxing. The objects of your attention are falling away, softly, silently, into the abyss of the unconscious. There is no fear in this abyss, only a velvet darkness that catches everything you drop. The curve is steep at first, but now it is flattening out. You have reached the plateau of peace. The rapid shedding of the day is done, and now you are left with a quiet, empty mind, ready to sleep, ready to recharge. Think of the phrase, clear your mind. Usually we try to do this by force,
But the forgetting curve does it by gravity, by the natural pull of the decline. Just let gravity do the work. Let the thoughts slide, let them tumble down the hill, watching them go with a sense of detachment, saying goodbye to the stress, goodbye to the deadlines, goodbye to the lists. They are not welcome here, not tonight. The room of your mind is now sparse and minimalist, pure and white and clean. The curve of forgetting has done its job. It has swept the stage clean so that the play of your dreams can begin. There is a distinct pleasure in the unknown, in not knowing what time it is, not knowing what the weather is, not knowing what tasks await. This not knowing is a form of forgetting, a temporary amnesia that we call sleep, and it is the most restorative medicine in the world. Imagine Ebbinghaus closing his notebook, setting down his pen, and blowing out the lamp, satisfied that the curve has been drawn, satisfied that the laws of the mind are working. He leans back in his chair and closes his eyes, allowing the nonsense syllables to vanish from his thoughts, allowing the science to fade into silence. And you do the same. You are the scientist and the subject, observing your own release, feeling the exquisite pleasure of the mind emptying out, becoming a hollow reed through which the wind of sleep can blow, hollow and light, empty and free. The curve has carried you down to the bottom of the valley, where the grass is soft and the air is still, and there is nothing left to remember, nothing left to track, nothing left to measure, only the gentle, rhythmic rising and falling of your chest, only the darkness, only the quiet, only the peace of having forgotten everything that does not belong in this perfect, silent moment.
And now, while your conscious self has drifted away into the valley of the forgotten, while the heavy curtains of your eyelids are closed and your breathing has found the slow and steady rhythm of the tides, a new phase of the night begins. The lights in the grand office building of your mind have been turned off. The noisy chatter of the day shift is gone. The managers and the planners and the worriers have all gone home, leaving the building silent and dark. But deep in the basement, deep in the core of your biology, the night shift is clocking in. This is the most important workforce you will never meet, the silent custodians of your sanity, the archivists of your soul. And their work is known to science as consolidation, a word that sounds industrial but is actually a delicate art. The art of making things solid, of turning the vapor of thought into the concrete of wisdom. Imagine that you are hovering inside the control room of the brain, watching the monitors. On the screen, you see a flat, calm line, the rhythm of deep sleep. But every few seconds, there is a sudden, beautiful burst of activity, a quick, oscillating scribble of energy that looks like a spindle of thread spinning rapidly. These are the sleep spindles, the signature of the night shift, the bursts of bioelectrical communication between the thalamus and the cortex. And they are happening inside you right now, even as you listen to these words. The thalamus is the great gatekeeper in the center of the brain, and tonight it has lowered the portcullis. It has blocked the signals from your ears and your eyes and your skin, telling the world, do not disturb, the master is sleeping, the work has begun. And in this protected silence, the spindles begin their task, which is the transfer of data. Imagine the hippocampus, that temporary holding dock we visited earlier. It is full of the day's boxes, fragile crates labeled conversations, ideas, emotions, lessons. They cannot stay there. The dock is too small. The waves are too rough. So the night shift begins to move them, lifting them gently with the invisible arms of electricity, carrying them up the elevator shafts of the neural pathways, up to the vast, safe warehouses of the neocortex. This is the science feel of the night shift, the seamless logistical operation of the mind. Think of it as a massive data backup happening in the cloud, but the cloud is you. The synchronization is perfect. The spindles act like zippers, zipping the new memory into the fabric of the old, locking it in place so it cannot be lost. Notice how safe this makes you feel, to know that you do not have to hold on to anything. You do not have to worry, will I remember this? Because the night shift is taking care of it. They are sorting the files with an intelligence far greater than your waking mind. They know exactly where to put the memory of your mother's smile, filing it under love and safety. They know exactly where to put the new skill you learned at work, filing it under competence and future. They are cross-referencing, indexing, organizing the library so that when you wake up tomorrow, you are not just rested, you are smarter, you are more integrated, you are more whole. The sound of this work is not a clanging of metal, but a soft, rhythmic humming.
Like the sound of a high-end server room, a low thrum of fans and power, a white noise that wraps you in a cocoon of technology and biology. The sleep spindles have another job too, a protective job. Scientists have found that the more spindles you have, the better you sleep through noise. They are the shields of the brain. Imagine a sudden sound from the street, a car horn or a dog barking. The ear hears it, but the thalamus sees it coming and instantly fires a spindle, a burst of noise-canceling energy that intercepts the sound and says, no, stop, go back, blocking it from reaching your conscious mind, protecting your slumber, standing guard like a knight with a shield of spinning light. This is happening automatically, effortlessly. You are being defended by your own biology, protected by the sparks of your own neurons. The night shift is vigilant, so you can be vulnerable. The night shift is awake, so you can be asleep. Visualize the slow waves of deep sleep, big rolling swells of electrical activity that wash through the brain like ocean waves. And nestled in the trough of each wave is a spindle, riding the surf, carrying the information. This is the dialogue between the different parts of your brain, a whisper game played in the dark. Here is the file. I have it. Is it safe? It is safe. lock it down, locked. A conversation of trillions of synapses, confirming your reality, confirming your history, clearing the cache of the hippocampus so it is fresh and empty for tomorrow. Think of the feeling of a clean desk, a clean room, a clean slate. That is what is being prepared for you. The night shift is scrubbing the floors of the mind, washing away the toxic proteins that build up during the day, the amyloid beta and tau proteins, sweeping them out into the glymphatic drainage system, a literal brainwashing that leaves the tissue pink and healthy and revitalized. This is the ultimate act of self-care, and you don't have to lift a finger. You just have to lie there, heavy and soft, and let the crew do their job. Imagine the billions of neurons pulsing in unison, a choir singing a silent song of restoration, the upstates and downstates of the neurons, firing and resting, pumping the information into the long-term storage. It is a process of physical growth, of structural change. The dendrites we saw in the silver forest are growing tiny new buttons, new connections, welding the memory into the circuit. The heat of the day is gone. The friction of the world is gone. There is only the cool blue efficiency of the night. The spindles are spinning the thread of your life, weaving the events of today into the tapestry of yesterday, making sense of it all, finding the patterns you missed. Have you ever woken up with the answer to a problem you couldn't solve the day before? That was the night shift. They solved it for you while you slept. They connected the dots. They found the missing piece. They are the silent geniuses working in the basement, and they ask for no credit. They only ask for time. They only ask for sleep. So give them this time.
Surrender your consciousness to their care. Trust the process of consolidation. Trust the architecture of the brain. The spindle is a shape of balance, a shape that is thick in the middle and tapered at the ends, a shape of stability. And that is what they are bringing you. Stability, balance, centering. The chaos of the raw data is being tamed. The wild horses of your thoughts are being led into the stable, groomed and fed and settled down for the night. The file cabinets are clicking shut. Click, click, click. The sound of order, the sound of completion. The vast library of the cortex is receiving its new books, placing them on the shelves in perfect alphabetical order. The lights in the aisles are flickering off one by one as the archivists finish their work in that section, leaving behind a profound stillness, a silence that is heavy with knowledge. The science feel of this moment is the feeling of a system running perfectly, a machine that has been evolved over millions of years to do exactly this, to take the chaos of existence and turn it into the order of memory. You are the beneficiary of this ancient technology. You are the owner of this incredible factory, and tonight the factory is running on smooth, silent bearings. There are no alarms, no errors, no red lights, only the steady green glow of the all systems normal signal. The thalamus holds the gate, the spindles spin the thread, the cortex holds the books, and you, the conscious you, the I, you are floating far above it all, or perhaps far below it all, suspended in the dark, dreamless void, disconnected from the work, but supported by it, held up by the invisible hands of the night shift. They will keep working until the sun comes up. They will not stop, they will not rest, so that you can. They are the guardians of your continuity, ensuring that the person who wakes up is the same person who went to sleep, only better, only clearer, only more ready. But that is for tomorrow. That is for the light. Right now, there is only the dark, the comfort of the shutdown, the hum of the consolidation, the gentle spinning of the spindles, lulling you deeper and deeper and deeper into the restorative, intelligent, automatic sanctuary of the night. And now we drop deeper than we have ever gone before, falling past the wiring of the brain,
past the chemistry of the synapse, past the geography of the hippocampus. We are diving into the very center of the cell, into the nucleus, to find the oldest library of all, the library of the blood, the library of the species. We are entering the realm of the spiral of ancestors, the realm of genetic memory, where the story of who you are began not with your birth, but thousands of years before you took your first breath. Imagine the double helix of your DNA, that beautiful twisted ladder of molecules spinning slowly in the darkness of the cell, glowing with a faint primordial light. This is not just a set of instructions for building eyes or hair. It is a history book, a scroll written by every person who came before you. The science of epigenetics tells us that our DNA is not fixed in stone. It is responsive. It is alive. It interacts with the world, and it carries the tags or markers of experience. This means that the lives of your ancestors, their triumphs, their survivals, their adaptations have left a chemical trace on the very code that built you. This is a profound and powerful thought because it means you are never alone. You are a colony of thousands, a walking vessel of history. Imagine that you are standing at the top of a grand spiral staircase that winds down into the mist of time. This is the spiral of your lineage, and tonight we are going to walk down it, step by step, to find the comfort of continuity. The science feel here is the concept of biological resonance, the idea that the fears and the joys of your grandmother and her grandmother are vibrating softly in your own nervous system, not as ghosts, but as protein switches, biological settings that have been passed down to help you survive, to help you navigate the world. Consider the instinct you have to seek warmth or the comfort you feel by a fire. That is not a learned behavior. That is a memory from the Ice Age, a memory of the caves where your ancestors huddled together for safety. Their relief at the warmth is encoded in you. Their survival is your inheritance. As you drift deeper into sleep, feel the presence of these ancestors standing around you, not pressing in, but holding space, a circle of strength that stretches back to the beginning of time. They are the silent guardians who passed the torch of life from hand to hand, through storms, through famines, through wars, through migrations. The fact that you are here, lying in this bed, breathing this air, is statistical proof that they were strong, that they were smart, that they were survivors. You are the result of an unbroken chain of success that has lasted for millions of years. There is such a deep safety in this realization. You do not have to figure out how to survive. Your body already knows. The knowledge is knit into your bones. It is singing in your blood. Imagine the epigenetic markers as tiny notes written in the margins of the book of life. Notes that say, "Be careful here," or "This food is good," or "Trust this smell." Scientific experiments have shown that even simple creatures can pass on the memory of a smell to their grandchildren, a biological warning system that transcends time. And you possess this same sophisticated machinery.
So if you sometimes feel an anxiety that has no name, or a joy that has no cause, it might simply be an echo from the spiral, a vibration from a distant rung on the ladder. And knowing this allows you to relax, to stop analyzing, to simply accept the vastness of your being. You are not just a single individual living a single life. You are the waking edge of a wave that has been traveling across the ocean of time for eons. And tonight, the wave is resting. The wave is settling into the calm water. Allow your mind to travel back, past the industrial age, past the Iron Age, past the Stone Age, seeing the landscapes your DNA has walked through, the green savannas of Africa, the dense forests of Europe,
the steppes of Asia, the islands of the Pacific. Wherever your people came from, that landscape is still inside you. The rhythm of their walking is in your heartbeat. The rhythm of their sleeping is in your breath. This spiral of ancestors creates a sense of immense weight, but it is a grounding weight, like the roots of a giant redwood tree. You are anchored to the earth by these deep, invisible roots, and no storm can blow you over because you are supported by the strength of 10,000 generations. The science of DNA is the science of immortality, for the information inside you has not died, it has only changed form, jumping from body to body, refining itself, improving itself, until it resulted in the miracle of you. Feel the double helix unwinding slightly, relaxing its tension, the hydrogen bonds loosening their grip as the cell enters its rest phase. The ancestors are resting too. The long journey is paused for the night. Imagine a campfire burning in the dark of prehistory, the sparks flying up into the Milky Way, and your ancestors sitting around it, watching the same stars you see, dreaming the same dreams of safety and peace. That fire is still burning in your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, generating the heat that keeps you alive. You are the keeper of the flame, the current guardian of the light, and this responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It gives your life a cosmic dimension, a science feel of awe and wonder, to know that you are made of the same 4 bases, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, arranged in a sequence that is unique in the universe, yet connects you to every living thing. You are part of the great web of life, and tonight the web is holding you, cradling you like a hammock, swaying gently in the winds of time. There is no need to be lonely, for your blood is full of company. Your genes are singing a chorus of belonging. Deep down in the subconscious, the brain understands this connection. It knows that sleep is the time when we return to the collective, when we dip back into the great pool of the unconscious, where the individual ego dissolves and the ancestral soul remains. Let the spiral carry you down, turning and turning, deeper into the past.
Deeper into the peace. The further back you go, the simpler life becomes, until you reach the single-celled organisms floating in the ancient seas, the great-great-grandparents of us all, remembering the salt, remembering the sun, remembering the rhythm of the tide. That rhythm is your rhythm, the circadian rhythm that tells you it is time to sleep. It is a chemical clock wound up billions of years ago, and it is still ticking perfectly in every cell of your body. Tick, tock, tick, tock, the sound of the spiral turning, the sound of the generations marching, not in a military march, but in a slow ceremonial procession of life, leading to this very moment, leading to this very bed, leading to this quiet peace. The epigenetic switches are being reset, the stress markers are being washed away, the soft inheritance of the day's worries is being cleared so that you do not pass it on, so that you remain pure. The DNA is repairing itself, distinct enzymes drifting along the strands like repair crews on a bridge, fixing the cracks, tightening the bolts, ensuring the structure is sound for tomorrow. This is the wisdom of the body, a wisdom that does not require your conscious thought, a wisdom that is ancient and automatic, so you can trust it, you can surrender to it, you can let go of the steering wheel, because the autopilot is set by 1,000,000 years of evolution. The spiral of ancestors is a spiral of love, for only love and care could have preserved the line for so long. Mothers caring for children, fathers protecting families, tribes watching over each other. That love is encoded in you. It is the glue that holds the helix together.
Feel that ancient love wrapping around you now like a warm fur blanket, protecting you from the cold, protecting you from the dark. You are the child of the universe, the child of the earth, the child of the past, and the parent of the future. But right now, you are just a sleeping soul, floating in the river of genetic time. Let the current take you. Let the spiral wind you down, down into the silence where the ancestors sleep, down into the darkness where the code is written, down into the peaceful, heavy, comforting embrace of your own history.
And now we reach the end of the map, the edge of the known territory. We have traveled from the wax tablets of the ancients to the electricity of the nerves, from the silver forests of the neurons to the spiral staircases of our DNA. And now we must take the final step, the step that takes us beyond the body, beyond the earth, and into the vast, silent embrace of the cosmos itself. We are entering the realm of stardust and signals, the physics of the eternal, where the boundaries between you and the universe begin to dissolve. Imagine that the roof of the room you are lying in simply melts away, dissolving into mist, revealing the infinite depth of the night sky above, studded with billions of stars, diamonds on black velvet. But tonight, you are not looking at them from a distance. You are realizing that you are made of them. The science of astrophysics tells us a profound and humbling truth, that every atom in your body, the carbon in your cells, the nitrogen in your DNA, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of it was forged in the nuclear furnaces of dying stars billions of years ago, before the Earth even existed. You are literally stardust that has come together for a brief moment to form a conscious being. You are the universe experiencing itself. And this realization brings a deep, vibrating peace because it means you belong here. You are not a stranger in the world. You are a child of the cosmos. Imagine the neurons in your brain, those tiny sparks we visualized earlier. And now, look up at the galaxy, at the web of stars and dark matter stretching across the sky. They look exactly the same. The structure of the brain and the structure of the universe are mirrors of each other. The cosmic web and the neural network are twins, separated only by scale. This is the universal connection, the feeling that the light inside your mind is the same as the light inside the sun. It is all energy. It is all physics. And tonight, that energy is returning to its source. The science field here is the first law of thermodynamics, the law of conservation of energy, which states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form. This is the most comforting law in all of physics because it applies to you. It applies to your memories. It applies to your soul. Think of the memories you have consolidated tonight, the electrical signals that have flashed through your mind. They are not lost. They are energy, and energy is eternal. As you drift towards sleep, imagine that the excess energy of your thoughts is gently radiating outward, leaving the body, drifting up like heat waves from a road, joining the great background hum of the universe, the cosmic microwave background, the whisper of the Big Bang that still fills the silence of space. You are tuning your frequency to match this universal hum, a low, steady vibration of the sound of existence, the sound of peace. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you, but realize that gravity is just the curvature of space-time, a gentle slope in the fabric of the universe that cradles you. You are held in the palm of physics, held by the same laws that keep the planets in their orbits and the moon in its path. There is no effort required to stay here.
The laws of nature are doing all the holding, all the supporting,
all the balancing. You can let go completely. You can become weightless. Imagine that you are floating in zero gravity, drifting in the deep silence between the stars. The air is not empty. It is filled with the potential of everything. The vacuum of space is not a scary void. It is a velvet blanket of pure quiet, a place where there is no noise, no friction, no resistance. You are a single point of consciousness floating in the infinite dark, seeing the distant lights of galaxies turning slowly like great wheels of time. The science feel is the vastness of the scale. Your problems, your worries, your schedules, they are so small here. They are microscopic, invisible against the backdrop of eternity. This perspective is the ultimate sedative. It shrinks the noise of the ego until it vanishes, leaving only the pure awareness of being. The iron in your blood remembers the supernova that created it. The water in your cells remembers the comets that brought it to Earth. Your body is a museum of cosmic history, and sleep is the time when the museum closes, when the lights go out, and the artifacts rest in the dark. Imagine the electrical activity of your brain slowing down to match the pulse of a pulsar, a slow, rhythmic beacon in the dark. Flash, pause, flash, pause, slower and slower until the flashes blend into a soft, steady glow. You are becoming a nebula, a cloud of soft, colorful gas drifting in the deep, expanding, loosening, losing your shape, becoming formless and vast. The boundaries of your skin feel like they are dissolving. You are no longer contained. You are mixing with the night. The atoms of the air are mixing with the atoms of your breath. There is no inside and no outside. There is only is. The memory of who you are is safe, encoded in the energy field of the universe. You do not need to hold it. The universe holds it for you. The Akashic record of the mystics meets the quantum field of the physicists, a place where every event is recorded in the wave function of reality. Nothing is ever forgotten. Nothing is ever lost. Every kindness you did, every love you felt, it is all ripples in the pond of space-time, spreading out forever, touching the stars. So you can rest now. You can stop transmitting. You can stop receiving. You can simply be the static, the peaceful white noise of the cosmos. The journey we have taken tonight has led us from the wax tablet to the stars, from the tangible to the intangible, and now we are at the destination, which is the state of pure potential,
the state of deep, dreamless sleep. Imagine the star that made you eons ago, exploding in a silent bloom of light, scattering the seeds of life across the dark. And now those seeds have come together to form you, and they are tired. They want to rest. They want to return to the silence of the void. Feel the heaviness of the elements in your body, the gold, the silver, the magnesium, pulling you down, grounding you, while your spirit floats up, lighter than a photon, traveling at the speed of light into the kingdom of dreams. The universal connection is the final truth, that we are not separate. We are one thing, one energy, one consciousness, playing a game of separation. And in sleep, we end the game. We take off the mask, and we return to the whole. We return to the source. The silence is absolute now, not the silence of an empty room, but the silence of the space between galaxies, a silence that has weight, a silence that has texture,
a thick, rich silence that fills your ears and your mind, damping out the last vibrations of thought. The signal is fading, the radio is turning off, the transmission is ending, the screen is going dark, but it is a warm darkness, a living darkness, the darkness of the womb of the universe, waiting to birth a new day. But the day is far away, millions of light years away, and here there is only the now, the eternal now. You are stardust, you are golden, and you are returning to the garden, the great cosmic garden of the night. Sleep now, little star. Sleep now, traveler of time. Sleep now, spark of the divine. The universe is singing you a lullaby of silence, a song without words, a song of pure being, drifting, floating, fading, becoming one with the dark, becoming one with the light, becoming one with the peace. Deeper and deeper and deeper, until there is nothing left but the sleep, the deep, historical, scientific, eternal sleep.